Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Aurora 4X C Sharp. Let me go and get my timer started. And let's also go ahead and, because we do know that the Yaic is still somewhere out there, in hindsight it's probably a good idea to have, where is it? Some sort of escort for our transports. Because technically there is still an enemy ship out there somewhere. We just have zero clue as to where it is because the Yaics have either very good thermal dampening on their engines, or there is some other justification for why we just can't detect them, like, at all, unless we're practically on top of it. So there we go. Quick reaction force 2 is fast enough to be able to catch up very quickly. Let's also actually get that turned back on. There we go. The game now officially realizes that Io has been lost because the civilian population there, or well, rather the civilian forces there, have been lost. So, gotta reissue the orders for Expeditionary Strike Group 1. Tell them to land. Now, I don't know for certain if we'll be keeping Io. The reality is it doesn't have resources that are super important to us. It's got some Duranium with pretty good availability. But I already have slightly better availability and like 10 times the Duranium off of Venus. So, while Io isn't terrible, it's also not really worth another colony to mine. So what'll probably end up happening, more than likely, is that I will basically just destroy our colony on Io once we finish retaking it. I'll pick up our troops, bring them back to Earth, and then I will basically click down here to delete the population, which will remove the planet and open it up for the civilian sector to recolonize it if they feel so inclined. Okay, we have found a Luman 16. Also, double check. What is the size of the Yaic? I can never recall. It is a active sensor signature of 7,000, so we will set for 10. Excuse me. We will set for 10. Thank you. Well, no, we'll set for 1,000, actually. What is its passive? Do we know what its passive is? That's really what we should be asking. Its thermal sensor signature is 156, so we will actually set for 100, which is slightly worse than our active sensors, so we're probably not going to be finding it until the active sensors have already picked it up anyway, so what difference does it make? Okay. Alpha Centauri continues to do its thing. The Arens has finished its repairs, and thus the game is telling me that, hey, it only has 16.7% of its fuel left. Yeah, but until the other ship in its fleet is actually done, we can't really do anything about it. And also, let's get this set back up. And you guys can actually turn off your active sensors because they're not needed anymore. Okay, that is the ground forces. We have zero clue as to where the... Now, the reality is, because there's no actual civilian population on Io, I do have the option. But we might do it, because I don't think there's any real negative. And since we're not planning to actually keep it ourselves, You know what? Let's just make our lives easier. You are not going to actually unload the forces. You are going to just move to Io. Once that has been completed, well, not even really once that's been completed. What I am going to do, however, is have you move separately to Io. Okay, and Quick Reaction Force 2 has arrived. Let's go ahead and set up the subfleets for it to make my life just a little bit easier. And one thing I actually forgot to mention. So I did make some changes to the designs between parts, namely that I've decided that our quick reaction forces are going to have a cruiser assigned to them once we finally get around to completing the rebuilds or the refits. And so they don't technically need the larger sensor anymore, or at least they won't. So they're just going to go with the new smaller sensor for active sensors, because the cruiser will provide them the same effect. This does, of course, mean that our primary forces do have tons of extra, basically. And ground forces... Oh, you guys don't have your shit set up properly. Let's correct that. I can never remember. This should be the 10s. Yeah, that should be the 15s. That should be the 10s. Assign that to the fleet and... tell you to open fire. Open fire. Okay, we fired some shots. No ground units hit. You know what? Sync fire on. Fleet sync on, thank you. Why are you failing to, Okay, they are... Okay, yeah, no, that's not going to do it as I want, so just, fire as you guys feel like it. Let's see... Apparently we got a hit on elite infantry. We apparently didn't destroy it, though, which, I question that logic. There we go. Commander Gonggang Meng, okay, has been awarded the Armed Forces Service Medal for destroying a hostile unit. Good for them. You know what? We're going to speed this up just a tad. And feel free to go ahead and, just fire your 10 centimeters as well. There we go. Another elite infantry. Because the reality is, like I said, I'm not planning to keep Io. I really don't care about it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bomb it into oblivion. We will then land the ground troops to make sure it gets liberated. And then we're going to take off and abandon the planet. Or, well, the moon, rather. Another elite infantry done. One more elite infantry. The reality is this is going to take a little while. And I can't really do faster increments. So this is actually what I have the option of doing is setting... Nope. It won't actually auto-tick 5 seconds at a time for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of spam 5 seconds as quickly as I can. let the game go through a number of ticks of that, because it does actually register every single press. So it's going to keep going for a little while. Okay, there we go. Now double check that you guys aren't using up all... Okay, yeah, the Albert T. Harris is using up all of its supplies. Its maintenance. For some reason. It's just... It ain't doing so hot. Okay, yeah, you guys are not quite doing this nearly... Well, we did some damage, so you know what? We're going to consider that a, job well done. We have softened the target, is, how we'll say it. And now the ground troops get to have the joy of landing on the planet. So that is going to take them a while. It's only a day, basically. Current tug is, 5 hours load time, and then just however how long it takes to actually unload, which I think is affected by the number of troops you've picked up. So, yeah, that's going to be a while. Three hours, and then 2 minutes, and 5 seconds. And there we go. The troops have landed, and press 8 hours. Nothing happens initially. Another 8 hours. There we go. Okie dokie, so let's just gonna look for generally the colored ones. So, ground attack summary: 209 elite infantry, 12 anti-tank teams, 3 resupply infantry. Do they not have an HQ? Did we destroy that and I didn't notice? Because in theory that might make our job a little easier. Because then they're not getting any sort of commander bonus, or at least they shouldn't be, if they follow player rules, which I believe they do. So, the 8th Motorized Rifle Battalion has lost 19 infantry, 11 mortar teams, 2 MG teams, and a armored personnel carrier, as well as a light supply. Estimated hostile forces, 755 elite infantry, which is like way over the ground attack summary up here. So, yeah. Of course, that is an error range of 100%, so, don't expect that to be in any way accurate. Ground attack summary here: 311 elite infantry, 27 anti-tank teams. The only thing we lost was an IFV. One of our KR-1 Shaitans. Take another 8 hours. And then round 2. It's a little hard to make sure that I got my dates right. So there's Saturday. That would have been the first tick, I believe. Yes, here we go. Here's our second tick. Okay, we only had the one fight apparently. 372 elite infantry, 11 anti-tank teams, 3 resupply infantry. We lost 4 infantry. Enemy forces on Io have been defeated, and the enemy colony has been occupied. Okay, so we took some losses, nothing too extreme. Let's just kind of put this in my notes. Just so that I can make sure I'm building the right stuff. But this should be fairly easy to reinforce. in reality. Now, I don't actually plan to, like, build a team of just these things. I am far too lazy for that. Instead, what's going to happen is I'm just going to build what they should be. Which also means technically I should just be looking here at what the unit was. So in the first case, motorized rifle battalion. And then MBT. Or, well, excuse me. Tank battalion. Then what was the one of the very last people to fight? It was another motorized battalion. So we'll just, queue up 2 motorized and a tank battalion. That should clear up all of our losses. Let's go ahead and get those queued up. And technically, I actually should only need the 1. And then a tank battalion. Yeah, I should only need the 1 motorized rifle battalion to make up for the losses that the 2 that actually fought had. Okay. Technically, we now have 2 IOs because that's the way this game works. The game does not actually have us on the one that is listed as conquered, so that's nice. Just to double check that there are no resources on either of these. Buildings, there shouldn't be, because the aliens certainly wouldn't have had time to do anything. Let's go ahead and get ground units loaded up. Wonderful. And you go ahead and fly back to Earth and unload. Quick Reaction Force 2 is going to actually follow you just to make sure you get home safely. And once we have separated from the planets, I will go ahead and delete population of Io and delete the population of other Io. Because I don't need them. I have 0 desire to colonize Io. We will leave that open, and the civilian sector can go ahead and recolonize that, should they so choose. The Ainsworth has finished its repairs, finally. So we are still waiting on the Arens. Actually, we don't have the Arens queued up, apparently, for repairs. Let's go ahead and get the Arens queued up. The Arens should be done sometime in August. Okay, we're getting some information regarding the salvages, or the wrecks being salvaged over here in Siceti. Okay, last one has been picked up in Siceti. I'm going to have them drop all their stuff off at Earth. And then we're going to ship them out to go ahead and pick up all of the wreckage that we have here in the Sol system. We got quite a bit of cleaning up to do. We do actually need to rename those missiles, because I realized afterwards, between parts, that this is actually not supposed to be AIM, it's supposed to be RIM, because that is the name of our anti-ship missiles. And that's obsolete. Thank you very much, game. So this is technically slower, but it has more range and a significantly deadlier warhead. And technically, it's a little bit cheaper. Technically. So the reality is the first things that I want to do is actually get the refits done. So we're not going to go ahead and actually build any of the new missiles just yet. The big thing for us is going to be getting these the techs done so we can start the actual rebuilding process finally. Hopefully, at some point. Let's do 5-day increments. Okay, shipyards finished their stuff. Doesn't really matter. More research completed. The reality is this tech should all be finished relatively quickly. That would be the Abercrombie finally finishing. And there's the salvage fleet arriving. Wonderful salvage fleet. Go ahead and, if I can find you in my list of things, unload all your components and unload all your minerals. Wonderful. What do we get? Let's see. So we got some railguns. They're not fancy. Actually, I don't even know if we got the railguns. We might have already had those in particular. I think this is... Well, that's ours. No, that wouldn't be ours because it doesn't follow our naming convention. So that's not ours. Let's go ahead and scrap for the parts. I don't believe the aliens actually have any, tech over us for the most part. Yeah, I'm like 90% certain they don't have any tech over us. It's mostly just that their stuff is a little bit newer than ours, is the main thing. And I don't plan to use those going forward, so just go ahead and scrap that. Okay, salvage fleet. What I am going to do is actually have the quick reaction force follow you. Because again, there's an alien fleet out there somewhere. So actually, first things first, I need to get you refueled and resupplied. And then I'm going to have you follow the salvage fleet. And the salvage fleet is going to have the oh-so-enjoyable experience of salvaging all of this. Which they should, I believe, be able to carry without needing to come back until after they're done. I'm like 90% certain of that, so let's go ahead and get all of this queued up. I could issue a standing order. That's not really something I'm interested in doing because, generally speaking, I don't want them going out there until I know it's safe. So standing orders is not, in my opinion, the brightest idea. Unless I'm going to give these guys an actual, military escort at all times, which is certainly not the plan. More research completed. Wreck salvaged. What do we get out of this one? Sensors and commercial ion drives and some minerals and decent amount of calcite, 375. That's quite a bit, actually. Yeah, Renz is needing to be refueled, and we will do that at some point when I remember to actually come in here and say, hey, yeah, how about you guys actually go ahead and refuel yourselves? Because why not? Go ahead, refuel, resupply. And you are waiting for the Arens to finish, which is actually not done until August. Thank you for telling me you found a jump point. It's very annoying that found a jump point means we need to, just pause. I do not think that found a jump point is a valid reason to pause, personally. Okay, target capacity, minerals exhausted, boronite on Luna has been depleted. It's fine, though. Pretty sure we have access to boronite in plenty of other places. And if not, it's not that important to us. What are you trying to do? You don't have anywhere to survey. And, okay, that's fine. Go ahead and head through the jump point to the next location. Groombridge 34, which doesn't have much going for it besides a couple of... Actually, that is slightly above our preferred preference when it comes to colony cost. The dark blue, however, look like they could be fairly decent. Question is whether or not these have resources. But none of them should have an NPR, in theory. At least at first glance. There we go, the Arens is repaired. Let's go ahead and here, Arens. Refuel, resupply on Earth. Okay, close that because we're not going to need to interact with it again anytime soon. Okay, and that's all of the fighters being salvaged. And actually, it looks like I lied about not needing to interact with this anytime soon because it took you significantly less time to pick up all of those. So, unload all components, unload all minerals on Earth. Wonderful. Quick reaction force 2. Cancel your orders. Refuel and resupply at Earth. And let's see what we found. 20 centimeter railguns. We don't use them. Scrap it. Active sensor. Scrap. Scrap. If it doesn't follow our naming convention, we're also generally going to be scrapping it. ECCM1 and ECCM1 and ECM1 do not matter to us because we have version 2. These are the old sensors, and I don't plan to be using those. This is their old stuff. The rest of these we will keep because cargo shuttle bays I can reuse, and same with the fighter maintenance storage and whatnot because those don't change. As of right now, improved damage control is still the best we have, and I'm actually going to scrap those ordnance because we're not using them either. Okay, so this part is mostly going to be focused now that we have dealt with that, of just getting the last of the research we need done. And by last of the research, I mean all of the research, because we did not get very much of it done last time around. In fact, I think we got none of it done last time around. I think at best we queued it up, and that was it. Whoops. I wanted to actually switch to getting the automated mines started. For the simple reason that I want to get them over to Venus, so we can try to speed up getting more galsite. Because that's the main thing that's going to be hampering our refit process, is galsite. Oh, I didn't realize that we had an alien autopsy. When the hell did that happen? I don't know, but you know what? Go ahead and do it. That shouldn't take you very long. But once you get more labs, you will be finishing it in June. Okay, and there's the research on extra mining production. Let's go ahead and speed up our research on the last of the components. And since there's nothing else for you guys to do, go ahead and let's get to work on researching the Marines. Oh, thought we still had some labs available at the end, but apparently not. Okay, there we go. We should have nothing left that needs to be researched before I can start building, and that would look to be correct. So, Owens Shipyard, retool for the CV Akagi 2125. Sioux Manufacturing Company, a retool for the CVE Acute 2125. Graves Fabricators switch to the CG Albany 2125. Walmart Boat Builders to the Abdel 2125. Urbaniac? Sure. Manufacturing Company, you switch to the Abercrombie 2125. Beckett Systems, switch to the Alamo. Well, the new version of the Alamo, of course. Harley Shipyard Corporation, you switch to the Block 3 freighters. Gensler Naval Shipyards, even though I don't plan to build any new colony ships, and we'll probably refit, because screw it, why not? But at the very least, I don't plan to build any new ones. We're going to go ahead Gensler Naval Shipyard, which is an odd name for a civilian one. Personally, I kind of, whatever, I guess technically it still works. It's just, yeah. It's probably not what I would have named it. Get the last of these. We didn't set up the new survey or the new diplomatic. Actually, no, we did set up the new salvager. We didn't set up the new diplomatic one because they don't need one. The Explorer, we didn't design any new ones because technically it's on the books to scrap our current Explorer because it doesn't really do anything for us. One thing I did actually forget to also show off is that I have vaguely laid out what a future generation complete new build of a carrier would look like. I don't quite know for certain if this is the design that I'm going to stick with. I don't plan to build this for a little while anyway. The reality is the Akagi is more than sufficient for our current needs. This is just kind of a general layout of what I'm considering. But I do actually have some changes that I do want to make. we're going to remove some of the fighters. In exchange for that, we're going to add some of these FAA-1 boxes, which are our strike fighters. I did decide that we are going to go with the size 4 strike fighter, or the strike fighter with the size 4 launchers. So we will also need to go ahead and get some missiles for those guys designed. But there's no immediate rush to get that done. Because the most important thing right now is actually that the ships themselves get refit. Or, complete their refits. So anything else doesn't really matter. And technically you guys don't need supply when you're boarding, so we're not going to actually have that. And I thought I had deleted it previously, and I probably did, but it was probably on one of the saves that I did not actually, save after loading. So we're also going to go ahead and try to improve our ground units somewhat. So we're going to go ahead and actually get these 40-centimeter carronades. Carronades are like the cheapest method of improving your ground, what is it called? Your racial weapon strength for ground. Because it's a very cheap tech, and it is one of the 3 or 4 techs that affects this value. Although the game only uses the highest of these. So the reality is researching carronade related stuff is basically just for improving this. My understanding is they're not that great as an actual ship-bound weapon. But if you need to improve your ground forces, it works. The Abdel has finished completing. But what I'm holding out on is getting the Akagi done. There we go. Let's go ahead and get the Akagi queued up for its refit. If there happen to be any components available that you can use, feel free to do so. There shouldn't be, however. And this will be completed May. Now what I am going to do is actually go ahead and... Where are my fighters? We're actually going to scrap these. For the simple reason that I don't have a use for them. I really don't. We'll reuse the components either for, the refits that we're actually caring about, or to build the new F3s. But let's nonetheless go ahead and get all of our existing F2s scrapped. We will also be scrapping all of the O2s because those are not needed either. And make sure that those are the correct things getting scrapped. They are. Now, obviously, I still have the F1s running around on the Acute, but, the Acute hasn't had to do anything. So they're still there. And also, I probably could have used them here in the defense of Seoul. I could have, launched them to support. They wouldn't have done much. They are... I guess they're technically still sufficient fighters. Realistically, their main issue is they use an even older armor. But technically, it's just as good. The main thing is they're about 2,000 kilometers a second slower than the F2. But beyond that, they're like 90% the same. Their big thing is a better engine, a more efficient power plant in terms of size and whatnot, and then just the better armor, or the more modern armor, rather. Beyond that, there's like zero difference. Now, if I had a more comfortable stockpile of Galsite, I would probably actually queue up multiple things. And you know what? I think I can. I can probably queue up to get the cruisers done, although actually I can't because currently their shipyards are being used for scrapping for just a little bit longer. Okay, we have run into a corundium issue when it comes to producing more of these automated mines. That's fine. Out of curiosity, just double check. Saiseti Mineral Group. Are you set to stop at B1? You are, yes. Okay, wonderful. Just had to double check. Not that you're bringing in too much, because B1 does not have nearly enough mines for the actual, what they actually need. We're going to go ahead and have them demand an additional 200 mines. I think, actually, you guys have a worker shortage. You need more people. Your issue is not that you need more mines. Your issue is that you need more people. Because you're missing about 7.3 million. So what I am going to actually do is colony group, where are you? Don't know where the hell, there you are. Earth. Load up colonist, go to Saiseti B1, unload colonists, repeat this 9 times. Well, actually, wait. Head back to Earth, refuel, resupply. Repeat this 9 times. I figure that should probably bring over a fairly decent population. A2 actually has a bit of a population surplus, but it's not nearly enough to matter. Alpha Centauri also technically needs people. Let me double check that this stuff is not marked as military restricted. They aren't. Good. Just had to double check on that. Wrong button. Because I'm always hitting the wrong button. There we go. There's the CG. Refit. CG Albanese into the newer CG Albanese. Okay, game pauses again to tell me that, hey, we finished these other things, and somebody has their active sensors on. Who the hell has their active sensors on? And why? Quick Reaction Force 2 has theirs on. They don't need them. We can go ahead and turn those off. Okay, we've completed the autopsy on the Eldar. I don't know exactly what that does for us. It claimed it would allow us to see their, you know, planetary preferences. But beyond that, I don't know what the hell benefit that actually provides. Because I don't see an obvious means of actually checking that. So, you know, thanks game, I guess. I don't actually have any options to do anything anywhere else. So it did a thing. And that's about the extent of all I can say. Is that it did a thing. Because I don't have another drop down here for looking at them. And I don't know why I would care, realistically. If we're being honest, I don't think I would care. I researched it because it was there, basically. If I'm being completely honest. That was the only reason I researched it. What do I want to research? You know what, no, that doesn't really matter. You know what, let's go and research colony cost. Let's make our colonies a bit cheaper. I don't really have anything better to research right this second. And you claim you don't have a means of coming back. So what I am going to do is I'm going to actually tell you to cancel your stuff because I do not care about any of this anymore. What I want you to do is plot a course back to Well, annoyingly, you claim you don't have a means of getting to Earth, which I know is bull. Go to Earth, refuel, resupply, and then I'm going to have you get scrapped, because I don't really need you right now. We will design a new version of you if it ever comes to my attention that I do in fact need a new one, but that likely won't be for a while. You know what, with the Raiders and then 2 other NPRs that still exist, I think we can kind of hold off on the exploration for a little bit. Let's go ahead and get further improvements onto our mining research, or excuse me, our mining production, because that is still very important to us. That is a goddamn 3 years. I don't think it would really change much if I were to switch to Zheng Long Kang here. And, you know, once he gets the additional 7 labs, I don't think it would make a significant enough difference, so we're not going to do it. We're going to go ahead and just have the person with the 50% bonus continue with it. Okay, you've completed your orders. Grab you. Tell you to scrap that. Double check that you're scrapping the correct thing, and you are. Once the next research finishes, we will go ahead and design ourselves our size 4 missiles to go with our strike fighters. Which actually, now that I think about it, the Akagi Reef, it doesn't actually have that, so we're not actually going to want to put those on. Now that I think about it, I just realized this doesn't have a magazine to be able to store any, so it's not exactly practical. Also, I need to mark some of these designs as obsolete to clear them out of our list here, just so it's a bit cleaner. So let's go ahead and take care of that real quick. Okay. Troop transports we're definitely going to want to get done, because that is a decent uplift in speed. 800 kilometers a second. I mean, the enemy can still catch us if they were to actually find our transports. But, you know, as long as they don't find them, we're all good. That doesn't mean much, of course. Also, I need to update the Akagis. Oh, no, I actually already did it. Never mind, then. The Akagi is actually almost done. Oh, we have inactive labs. I thought okay, apparently I didn't. What did we research last time that I completely forgot? Oh, thermal reduction. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not super useful, admittedly. Yeah, it's actually not super useful. In theory, it could be, but I feel like it's actually, now that I realize how fucking expensive it is on Galsite for that, it doesn't really make a significant difference in the grand scheme of things. Certainly for military vessels. So, yeah, we're not going to deal with that. Let's go ahead and ordnance production. Okay, what's the difference between you two so I can make sure I choose the... Okay, you're like twice as good for only 5 less slabs. Okay, yep, nope. I think you're the better choice. Ground formation construction rate isn't the worst thing to go ahead and start researching, I think. Because we do know that our orbital defense teams are kind of expensive to build. You know, they're almost 3,000 build points. And so, yeah, we kind of need to speed that all up, if at all possible. Oh, whoops. The game is actually complaining that I need to put a better person in charge of Central Fleet. Game says that a lower half is no longer good enough and needs to be an upper half. So let's go ahead and promote the current person in charge. And you actually need to be promoted to a Rear Admiral, and I think the game actually switched the person in charge there. Or maybe not. The Akagi finished, and I apparently completely missed that the Akagi had actually finished its rebuild. And technically you need to switch to a captain. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and fighters. I need 33 of those and 4 of those. Let's go ahead and get those started. Whoops. 4 of those, thank you. Okay, that should have corrected the needing a better person. Vanderite on Earth has been exhausted. Oh no, whatever shall we do? Actually, that's slightly annoying because we do need that for ground forces. But unless I'm misremembering, we have Vanderite elsewhere. The next time the game pauses, I'll check. Which looks like it's going to be a little while. Wow. You're trucking along this time, game. There we go. So, Vanderite. We have a fairly decent stockpile of it because we don't go through it that quickly. We have a bit on Luna. We have a bit more on Saiseti A2 and a absolute boatload of it on A1. But as per usual, shitty availability, because that's just how things go for us. Let's go ahead and get those 50 centimeter cannonades. There we go. We're at racial weapon strength 15. If I were to design ourselves a brand new improved personnel weapons infantry, they would have a penetration of 19 as opposed to the 15 of our current ones. They almost wouldn't have to deal with the armor of the elite infantries of the raiders. Wrong thing. Use for replacement. And if that works as it's supposed to, the motorized rifle battalions that are missing troops should switch over. Should being the operative word, of course. It's possible the game will Well, no, the game probably should have already done it if it was going to do it. Please don't make me do the movement of stuff myself game. I really don't want to. I really don't. Do I have to put them under the same fucking command? I've never, like I said, I've never really messed around too much. I might need to put them under the command there for the game to actually do it. Yeah, I guess we'll find out. In the meantime, let's go ahead and have you pick up Earth load. God, I wish there was an easier way to do this. Well, I guess suppose in theory there could be if I really wanted to use that method. If I were to take out a large enough. Is that it? Yeah, okay, I guess that's all of them that have been built so far. If I were to build a headquarters of the right size, I could have placed all those orbital defense teams under the correct one. Or under it, and then just told the game to load up all subunits and then unload them one by one. Technically, that is faster in some ways. One thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and scrap the STO on Luna because it's not needed anymore. And we will actually scrap the STOs on Earth because technically they're not needed anymore. Who was it that lost tanks? It was the 9th or something, right? No? I thought it was the 9th or something. Oh, here we go. It was the 11th? Yeah, it looks like it was the 11th. Let's place those under the exact same command and see if it does it. As I was meaning to do is I actually want you to head over here and unload 11 and 12, then head to Mars, unload 13 and 14, and then head to Siceti and unload 15 and 16. And 17, 18. And then 19, 20. And yes, I'll need 2 more because I do plan to set up at some point Siceti A1. But that's just sort of been on the back burner because it's not super important. Which is technically true. It's not super important. I've got much more important things to do. How are we looking here? Let's actually, because I kind of sort of forgot to do it. Let's get the guided missile destroyers going with their refits. As well as, might as well do the normal destroyers as well, because screw it. And what would it cost to have you build me 2 of these? If for some reason there happen to be components available to use as a part of this, feel free to do so. And we're going to go ahead and queue up 2 Albanys. The Augusta and the Baltimore. Those will be done sometime in August of... when was it? 21, 27? So August of next year, not too bad actually. Let's get a couple more ticks going. Okay, you finished. Let's get you back to Earth because you don't need to be out here anymore. Okay, so everything should now have significantly better STOs on them. I am also going to go ahead and tell you to scrap your old STOs because you don't need them anymore. It's the whole point of the new ones. They're better. Hopefully. Okay, annoyingly, the game does not look to have automatically moved the elements over, so I'm going to have to do it myself, which is annoying. Okay, that's, what, 19 if my math's correct? To get that to 260? And then, like, 11 motor infantry, or excuse me, mortar teams. And then 1 light supply. Yeah, the game didn't quite do this as I was expecting it to. I was expecting it to automatically move the stuff, but apparently the game said no. I'm not going to work that way. Okay, and you need 1 infantry fighting vehicle. Okay, that should be everybody exactly how they are supposed to be. I'm going to go ahead and... God, I don't know if I want to scrap these guys or keep them, because, I mean, as long as I use these same units again, I'm going to need them at some point. Right, I'll keep it. I'll keep them. But I kind of expected the game to automatically shuffle the stuff, but I guess maybe replenishment units technically only works if they are in a fight, and it only replenishes losses during that fight. It does not automatically replenish them to where they are supposed to be after the fact, which personally I think is stupid. Please, 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 for the love of God, make it so that I can just toggle on use for replenishment and the game will automatically take care of it, so long as I have the units required on the same planet, whether or not they are in a fight actively at that time. Because I don't want to have to drag and drop every single time to replace losses. That is very annoying and very impractical. If it can be done just having the game automatically shuffle them into the required position to meet the template, because clearly the game knows what the replenishment template is supposed to be. You know, there's a whole reason you have the replacement template. Boom. This is the division command. Okay, great. So, the way it should then work is automatically saying, okay, you have a motorized rifle battalion here that is not at full strength. You have another one that is marked as used for replacements. Let me go ahead and shuffle the units into position so that the one that is not marked as used for replacements meets the division template. Just, my opinion on how that should work. Also, I never actually gave you guys a medal. Let's correct that. Let's give you a hierarchy medal to everybody who is where is it? Ground Formation Commander. We'll give you a mention in dispatches. And technically speaking, we're not going to consider that Io was invaded by aliens. We're going to say it was a worker revolt. And there's a whole shit ton of people just getting a bunch of medals. And it is a metric shit ton of people getting a medal. Okay, so I let this part run a little bit longer. So next part, we should actually, you know what, before I forget, because I will forget to do it, and then I'll wonder why the hell it wasn't done. Detach you guys. Okay, you guys, movement orders. Fleets. Strike Group 1. Join specified squadron. VF1 Panthers. Join specified squadron, the Fighting Eagles. Join specified squadron, the Tigers. Join specified squadron, Black Eagles. And the game will take care of that deployment stuff for them. Technically, they shouldn't have had to deal with it, though. They were in orbit of Earth. Theoretically, they should not have to have dealt with that in the slightest. But, you know what, game? You do you at times. I swear you just need to do you at times. But okay, there we go. We have gotten that sorted out. We need to get our current missiles at least put in the queue, although I don't plan to actually build any anytime soon. And I'm going to say, you know what? Build me 1,000 of them. Build me 1,000. We need it. We need a ludicrous amount of these. But pause that because I don't necessarily need them right this second. And you know what? Let's go ahead and actually get the size 4 missile. Well, no, because it's not going to be actually being used anytime soon anyway. So never mind. We're not going to bother with getting the size 4 missile actually built right this second. Once I'm actually in a position to use our strike fighters, we will design us a size 4 missile. But that won't be happening basically until we get the brand new carrier out, which is the God, I'm forgetting the name. It was Africa, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was Africa. Because I have that one set to use Royal Navy carrier names. Yeah. So once we actually reach a point where we decide to get the Africa out, this is basically what we're going to be going with. This will be having our strike fighters, which is just as fast as all of our other fighters. The difference is that they don't have railguns. They rely on a swarm of 5 missiles each. So that is 12 of them. It's quite a few. It's what, 70? My math's correct? That should be it. Something like that, right? Is my math way off? No, excuse me, 60. Not too far off, but I don't know why the hell I was thinking 70. I really don't know why. But yeah, so those things technically would be firing more missiles than what our guided missile destroyers can fire, because they only have 52. Granted, they're missiles that are half the size, but I plan to give them the same size 8 warhead. So their main thing is just that we need to get kind of close-ish. Effectively, they're going to be more like a torpedo than a missile. And I say size 10 warhead, but if we finish the Cobalt warhead by the time we actually get around to doing that research, which we probably will, because I don't think the Africa is going to be entering service anytime soon. In that case, they're actually going to be size 10 warheads, which means they're technically larger warheads than what our missiles have. But nonetheless, if all 12 of those fighters manage to launch size 4, size 8 warheads at a single target, that target is not going to have a particularly good day, at the very least. They may survive, but they're probably going to be limping home. And to an extent, that's where this comes into play. The whole point of the assault carrier and the assault shuttle is to be able to basically board those enemies that are limping, so that we can steal their tech and all of that jazz. My understanding is it should also provide us significantly more accurate information for what the, weapons, sensors, technology, classification, or the observed attributes, all of that. It should provide significantly more accurate information, is my understanding. All for the simple reason that technically we have taken one over, so we have the ability to study it. Also, it should provide us more materials when we bring it back and scrap it, because we're going to be doing that with basically any of the enemy ships that we board. We're scrapping them. We're sending out a tug to drag it back home, and we're scrapping them. But, yeah. Personally, I think it could be a good trade. It's just, it's gonna not always be something we can do. But when we can, it'll work out great. So that'll be it for this part. I will see you all next time, where, like I said, we'll be finishing up the refits, because we should be able to finish those next time. We will start looking into actually getting our missiles done. We will be transporting more automated mines to Venus. In fact, actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually queue up right now to have those automated mines shipped off to Venus. I don't know how many of these guys can carry. I'm just going to tell you to cycle orders, basically until there are no more. And then when you're done, just keep I said when you're done. Every time, just refuel and recycle, just to make sure you don't have issues. But that'll help us out with the Galsite, because Venus has Galsite, as a reminder. It's got 4.2 million of it. I was about to say billion, but while I would love it to have a billion of it, it does not have that, I'm afraid. But this is, we need that. We need that Galsite. It is vital to our war effort. And not just the war effort, technically speaking. but a lot of things. I don't think I have the colony fleet cycling that enough because they don't bring nearly as many people as I thought they did. Well, that would explain it. It's 200,000 is your cargo. You can bring 200,000 each. Okay, maybe I do need to build some. You know what? Yeah, once you guys are done with that, I am going to have you refit into the new ones, which I don't think are significantly different than the ones you have now. Technically speaking, it's about 3,000 extra civilians, and then I'm gonna build a couple more of these and add them to that fleet. I want like 1 million people being shipped over at once, although that's probably a tad bit excessive. But it makes math easier. So yeah, no, we're gonna go for basically 10 colony ships in a fleet to just dump a whole bunch of people onto a colony. But nonetheless, I will see you. I'll see you all next time. As a reminder, if you want to stay up to date with the channel, any potential interruptions to my schedule and the like, generally I only post in the Discord. Sometimes I'll post in the YouTube community tab, but 9 times out of 10 I don't, so don't count on it. If you want to know what's going on with the channel, if there's any changes to my schedule, availability, things like that, make sure to join the Discord. I will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye and farewell.